Hello, my loves. Today we are going to be talking about how January 1st is not a real energetic reset or new beginning. And if you've ever felt like New Year's energy doesn't work for you, it feels off, it feels wrong, there is a reason for that. If you don't know me, hi, I'm Mallory. I'm a professional witch and energy healer, and this is Four Corners Studio, where we blend ancient folk magic, a little bit of modern psychology, and energetic tools to help you create a life that actually feels like you. I will also be the one to always tell you and teach you that all of your psychic, intuitive, energetic gifts are already within you, and you don't have to do as much as you think you do to uncover them. Let's dive into this new year, new you energy and talk a ton more about how time actually works energetically and what's coming up for 2026. First things first, we're going to talk about how the Gregorian calendar, which is the calendar we all adhere to, is administrative and it is absolutely not energetic. So it's created all of this weird pressure for people to renew and become reborn and start to do things when the energy for most people is a lot more inward. It's a time to rest. It's a time to digest all of the things that happened to us the year before. And it's a time to maybe just think of the new things that we want to create in the next year, not necessarily start the creation process. This pressure is 100% created by a capitalist structure that saw an opportunity to sell a bunch of shit to people on January 1st because it feels like a fresh start when in reality, we're all just kind of reeling from the year we just experienced, the holiday season, and we're given absolutely no time to just integrate anything that's happened to us. As someone coming from a marketing background, I can tell you that we use this time of year to sell people a bunch of stuff, period. That's all that this was about. And it always felt so wrong to me. So if that's the case, when are your actual new beginnings? Well, there's a couple of different options, and we're going to talk about that today. We're also going to be talking about what just happened, what happened in 2025, what were some of the energies coming in, a little bit how to integrate that, how to sit with that, how to make sure that we don't miss out on any of the lessons that came through, how we can really sink into the evolutionary process of our souls, of our psycho-emotional beings. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the numerology, a little bit about the Chinese zodiac. Full disclosure, I'm not an expert on either, but I want to get into the energies that 2026 is bringing and how you can make them work for you on a real macro level. But first, I want to talk a little bit about these card readings that I've been doing for years for myself, for my clients, and why certain times of year feel like a really good time for a fresh start for you, but not for someone else. You have a personal new year every single year on your birthday. From an energetic perspective, your birthday brings in a completely new set of energies for you specifically. I feel really lucky because my birthday is December 3rd, which means that I get my new fresh energies right at the end of the year so that I can go into the next year on the Gregorian calendar, feeling this renewed sense of who I am and what I'm bringing in. But obviously, that's not the case for everyone. So let's go over this super quickly. According to the Cards of Life, which is a type of card reading that was created by the Order of the Magi, this is something that you can look up. There's books on it, there's courses. You have a very specific set of cards, which means that you have a specific set of energies every year, starting on your birthday, ending on your next birthday. The reason why this first period, right after your birthday, feels so fresh is because this 52-day period is ruled by Mercury. And if you know anything about the energies of Mercury, it's quick, it's fresh, it's almost childlike. It's giving the Fool in the tarot. You're jumping into things are happening for you really rapidly. You're maybe getting new ideas. And generally speaking, it's not a great time for rest and introspection. So my birthday being on December 3rd, while so many people may be winding down the year, going into a little cocoon of rest, reading their novels next to the fire, I am on fire myself. I have so many ideas. I plan my entire year ahead. I really feel like I can take over the world every December. But for you, this is going to come at a different time entirely. But that doesn't mean that you have to wait until your birthday to feel this fresh new energy. If January isn't a good time for a fresh start, I'm going to give you a couple of options that might be. So first and foremost is going to be the Lunar New Year, and this is on February 17th. This makes a little bit more sense right off the bat, doesn't it? You have all of January and even half of February to kind of get your bearings, to look back on the year that just passed, to journal on it, to just rest after the holidays. February 17th is such a sweet spot. And this is when, according to the Chinese zodiac, that we are going to switch from the year of the wood snake to the year of the fire horse. We're going to get into that a little bit more in a minute. Another option is the Human Design New Year. So if you're not familiar with human design, I'm not going to go super into it right now. You can look it up. But I was totally floored when I heard that human design has its own new year. And this usually happens in late January, early February, lining up pretty closely to that Lunar New Year, right? Which is kind of cool. Another option is just waiting until Aries season. This starts on March 21st, and this is the first sign of the zodiac. It's a fire sign, new, fresh beginnings. At least in the Western hemisphere, things start to warm up again. Flowers start blooming. The trees are starting to grow leaves again. It really does feel like a rebirth. And so this is a great time for new beginnings as well. And then, as we talked about, there is your personal new year, your personal new beginning that happens on your birthday. So now we have several options for a fresh new start that has nothing to do with January 1st, nothing to do with the Gregorian calendar new year. Okay, so now that we understand that and we know there's nothing to feel bad about, that there's no reason for you to feel pressured into starting a whole new life on January 1st, let's talk about what just happened in 2025 energetically and what we're moving into in 2026. Now, I'm not the only person that's going to be talking about this, but I want you to wait for it. I want you to stick around because there's some things that I'm going to cover that I think are going to be really juicy for you, especially if you are super curious about deepening your own psychic and intuitive abilities or deepening your spiritual practice in general. This was the year of completions. We were really wrapping up some pretty intense karmic cycles. In numerology, this was a 9-year. So that is the end of a cycle, the culmination, really everything from the past 9 years. So that was 2016 was the last 9-year. So you can think of your life and think back to 2016 and everything that's happened since then. And if you had to distill it down into a series of different karmic lessons, what comes up for you? And I would just take a minute to really reflect on this and write some things down. The first thing that came to mind for me was 2016 was the year I got divorced. And it was a happy divorce for me. It wasn't anything to be sad about, but it was still hard and it was still a lot. I moved out on my own. I got a brand new job that completely changed the trajectory of my career. My ability to establish myself professionally was completely changed in 2016. I met someone in 2016 that was going to change the way that I thought about love and felt about love and really took my life back in a way that I hadn't yet in my adult experience. So that was a hugely transformative year. And then what happened in the 9 years after that were obviously mind-blowing, just mind-blowing. In 2025, you may have felt a lot of this completion happening, which doesn't always feel easy, but it is incredibly transformative. Let's talk a little bit, just in case, about what karma means and what it means to complete a karmic cycle. The way I think a lot of us in the West grew up thinking about karma was that if you did something bad was going to happen to you, but that is not what karma means at all. Karma is everything from soul contracts that you bring into this life to lessons that you have to learn to, yes, things that you have to come to terms with. If you put something into motion years ago, days ago, it doesn't matter. You will have to meet the consequences, good or bad, of whatever you put into motion before. I'm going to give an example that I hope makes sense. And I want you to really open your mind as I'm telling this story and not think about it as good or bad. It just is what it is. So let's say someone, I'm not saying it's me, but it was me, started a relationship on pretenses that were not exactly truthful to me. I'm not saying I was lying. I'm not saying that I purposefully made myself out to be someone that I'm not, but instead I created a persona. I actually brought out true parts of myself, but it wasn't my whole self. It was just parts to make myself seem cooler, more fun, like really bringing out the cool girl. And that's how I started this relationship. The karmic ending of that relationship was that I could no longer keep who I am fully, who I am totally from this person. And once everything started to come out, that relationship ended. Another really good example, and something you might have experienced in 2025, is you put in a ton of work into a business, into your career, into a project, and you've been working on it for years, and you've had this manifestation in your mind, this thing that you're creating. And in 2025, you actually started to see the fruits of your labor. Maybe we can even think of it not as karma, which is such a loaded term and something that you could probably ponder for years and not get to the bottom of. And we can think of it more as, what is the energy that you put into the thing? And then coming full circle and noticing like, oh, this is what I'm getting out of it. There's so much opportunity to feel like you're being punished in this life, that you're a victim of something, when in reality, everything is happening for you. Why in the world would I want to be in a relationship where I could only be part of myself? That's insane. It takes so much energy. And it was taking so much energy to be the cool girl, to be who I thought this person wanted. And while I was definitely getting something out of the relationship, I was getting the validation that I thought I needed and receiving love. It was too much. And I really think that the creator, the universe, whatever is in charge here knew that and knew that if I kept going down that road, that I would be completely depleted. I wouldn't be able to serve my purpose in this world. And so it was removed gently and lovingly from my life. I will tell you that the energy that I have gotten in my body, in my soul, since the ending of that relationship has been completely life-changing. And I learned the lesson. And so I don't have to go back there. Like, we don't have to do that again. And that's what 2025 represented for a lot of us. Again, on that flip side, on the more positive note, a lot of things have been coming to fruition for a lot of people, things that they've had in the works for years, things that they've been wanting to create. Maybe it was a book you wanted to write or a certain amount of money you wanted to make. Like, that started happening in 2025. It may have felt a little harder. It may not have felt seamless or easy, but it happened. I want you to tell me in the comments, like, what happened for you in 2025, because I'm so curious. 2025 was also the year of the wood snake. A lot of what people are saying about the snake is very obvious. It's shedding of the old, shedding of different belief systems, of different people and relationships, ways that you thought about yourself and your life. All of this is very naturally shedding. And I will say, for all of these energies that we're ever going to talk about, a lot of them are just happening. You don't really have to do anything. The only thing you have to do is surrender to the process. If you try to fight it, if you try to control it, you're going to have a really hard time. And that goes for every single year, not just years like 2025. You just got to get out of the way sometimes, and you have to accept what's happening. So we've got endings, we've got release, we've got karmic culminations, contracts that are ending in this 9-year in 2025. This taught us surrender. This taught us acceptance as things that have been defining you for 9 whole years start to just very easily shed. The best part about a snake year, though, is the rebirth. A snake sheds its skin, but it's still there. It's just shedding a layer of itself. This is renewal. This is wisdom. This is intuition and psychic and magical abilities coming online in a new way. And you may not have totally felt them in 2025, but I assure you, and we're going to get into it, you will feel them in 2026. If 2025 was things coming up to come out, then 2026 is the year when you really start to own your new identity. So let's get into this. 2026, which technically is going to start around February 17th from an energetic perspective. This is a universal 1 year, but let's reel it back just a little bit. In numerology, it's actually a 10-year. So what you're going to do is you're going to add 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 6 equals 10, and then 1 plus 0 equals 1. So while everyone is talking about it being a 1 year, which it is important to look at the energy of that 0. What the 0 represents is a co-creation with spirit, with the creator, with the universe. A 0 is infinity. This is a deeply, deeply spiritual year that we have coming up. So while a 1 is absolutely new beginnings and this fresh new start of a new 9-year karmic cycle, we can't forget that 0, which indicates that we're not doing this alone. We're doing this along with spirit. I really want you to think of this as opening the door and starting to walk down a path that is brand new. This is a brand new 9-year cycle. It is really urging you to create a much more authentic and satisfying existence, a new identity. So I'm talking new interests, new experiences, new goals, and probably the most exciting part, and definitely the most interesting to me, is a new way of approaching your spiritual gifts and your intuitive gifts. Now, a 1 is a number of individuality, and I love that. I don't get mad at people talking about individualism from a spiritual perspective, even though we could really use to be smacked around a little bit and tuned in a lot more to community and how to help each other and what our purpose is in the world and how to serve more. It doesn't bother me to talk about individuality, because what's happening in here is what ends up happening outside of us, right? As within, so without. And so if you don't have the self dialed in, if you don't have contact with the self, then you're not going to be able to serve. But that is what this 1 year is about. And it doesn't mean that you're going to be selfish and narcissistic and crazy. It just means that you're forming a new identity with help from the universe. Again, a lot of this is going to come really naturally. And all you're going to have to do is get out of the way and let things start to come in for you, and be curious and be in awe of what is happening. Look for joy. Look for what turns you on. Stop being so serious about this life, because we are really missing the plot. Even though 2025 was so much about shedding, in 2026, you may still feel yourself grappling with old beliefs, old attitudes, old ways of thinking and relating to the world. And every time you come across something like that, I want you to sit with it and ask yourself if it's still appropriate. Is it still true for you? You may start to feel out of place in communities where you once felt really held. You may question different people in your life, their roles in your life. A big theme for 2026 is going to be freedom. And freedom means something different to everyone. So what is it that makes you feel free? Not just on the outside, not just having total control over your schedule or having time freedom or money freedom, but what makes you feel free in your soul. A 1 year is about independence. And independence and freedom, we've really been taught to feel very guilty about these things in our society, which ironically, I think has forced us into being more selfish. Maybe a real true north is asking yourself how much you can love life this year and what gets you closer to loving life more and more and more every single day. I can't imagine anything else bringing you closer to your personal truth than that. This is a really, really good year to change your old routines, even though it's uncomfortable. Try new activities. Take the road that you wouldn't normally take. Meanwhile, staying really flexible and letting the universe guide you on your way. This sounds like a tricky balance already, right? Like on the one hand, you're in the midst of creating this new identity, this new way of being in the world. And on the other hand, you're being asked to get out of the way and just let life happen to you. And it is a balance and you're going to get it. I'm telling you, this is going to happen really naturally. And now with a full disclaimer that I'm not an expert in the Chinese zodiac. It is also the year of the fire horse. So let's talk about it. The fire horse is about transformation, passion, heart, spirituality, creation. I know we just went through a really transformative year, but this next year is another one. And the fire horse is bringing in a very natural cleansing and propelling us into spiritual growth and transformation and really into our destiny. There will be no more room for inauthenticity. And if you're anything like me, like authenticity can be tricky. I heard a quote, and I believe it was Jonathan Van Ness, and I think I've talked about this before. And when they were asked, what does authenticity mean to you? They said, it changes in every moment. Authenticity changes. I don't know when and how we were taught to stay so bound to one way of being. Humans are dynamic. Our needs change, our desires change. And so authenticity changes, right? Authenticity doesn't mean picking a stance and sticking to it no matter what. Authenticity means being your true self, being dedicated to what is coming up for you in that moment. That's authenticity. 2026 may bring a lot of new clarity on your life's work, your purpose, and there will be a lot of spiritual awakening. I mean, there's been record-breaking awakening since about I think it was like 2012, but again in 2016, this is going to be another year where you're going to see a lot of people come online spiritually and a lot of people's gifts coming online, yours included, mine included. Now, I've been doing energy medicine and this kind of spiritual magical work for a long time. And I am expecting new levels in 2026, and I want you to too. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. It is really important that you view your life from an incredibly spiritual perspective come 2026. This means finding teachers that you can listen to, whether it's a podcast or YouTube or books, people that you trust, making it a point to listen to that or tune into your own spiritual gifts, your own intuition for like 20 minutes a day. It doesn't have to mean that your whole life is dedicated to this, but it is really important that you make this a daily practice to just tune into it. The fire horse energy is intense. It's dynamic. There's a sense of drive, enthusiasm. You're going to be making huge changes in 2026. And I'm talking like moves to another home, another city, another country, changing your career, divorces, getting married, like big, big changes are happening. There are new paths and incredibly significant breakthroughs. We have that fire energy behind us. And fire is always going to be transformative and it's going to happen quickly and dramatically. We're talking rapid progress, innovation, creation. So that is what is coming up for us. Now, I want to just take a moment to talk about this concept of spiritual and intuitive gifts coming online in 2026 in entirely new ways. I once taught about the clairs. So it's like clairsentience, clairaudience, all these different ways that you can hear, sense, see, intuit information from the beyond, from the creator, from your angels, whatever you believe in, whatever works for you. And I don't want to think about it like that anymore. Here's the truth. You're already incredibly powerful and all of your gifts already exist inside of you. For some people, you've felt it this whole time, like the whole time you've been alive. That's why it doesn't seem special, because you've just always felt, sense, seen, heard things. And so when you see other people being intuitives, being psychics, being incredible card readers, whatever, you're like, "Oh, there's no way I could ever be that powerful," because you are totally taking for granted your own power because you've just always felt that way. And maybe you hear people talking about the clairs or different magical abilities that they have, whether that's like healing with their hands or hearing messages from spirit guides, whatever it is. And you're like, I just could, that's just not me. And I'm here to tell you that it is. You just don't think it's that special because you've always felt it. I can speak for myself where I look at a lot of healers and I'm like, man, they're so talented. They're so good. And the only difference between me and them is that I just haven't believed in my gifts. I just haven't believed in them enough to use them enough to become really powerful, because it is a combination of actually accepting it, feeling into the gifts that you already have, and then practicing them to bring them even more online. So that's what 2026 is going to do for us. It's going to give us opportunities to bring these more and more and more online and to really blow it out of the water. But that means accepting that you have these gifts to begin with and then practicing them if this is something that you want in your life. I'm talking about this because I really want to shed the idea that we have to do the most in order to be spiritual and intuitive beings. For some people, yes, there's going to be a ton of shedding before we can actually feel the power coming through. Subconscious belief shifts, working with the nervous system to make sure that we feel safe enough to bring these out, starting to move throughout our lives and throughout the world as though we are powerful, magical beings. Like, yes, absolutely. We do have to practice all of that stuff, but no amount of Reiki certifications or attunements or whatever is going to do it for you. Cause like it's already in you. All you have to do is crack it open, let it come out, and just admit to yourself how magical you are, what your gifts are. I'll be the first to admit that I am getting new certifications all the time. I love learning. I'm constantly reading. I'm constantly doing the most to make sure that I can be the most magical version of myself. But if I'm really honest, it's all pretty unnecessary. The best thing you can do is just get a little silent with yourself. Talk to your guides, talk to the creator, ask questions, tune into your body, tune into your emotional, your psychic body, and ask what's going on in there, and ask, what gifts am I meant to bring to this world, and what gifts will make my life more beautiful, more easeful. That's really all you have to do. And the rest is just fun. The spells, the rituals, playing with magic, playing with reality. That's the fun stuff. I hope this was helpful. I've never done anything like this before, and I would love to hear from you in the comments if this felt beneficial at all. If you learned something, please tell me what you learned. You guys are the best. I hope you have the happiest and most abundant 2026. It's going to be really good, you guys. Start to get excited.